Good morning, everyone, and welcome from Germany. It is my great pleasure on behalf of the ZBW to welcome you to the 9th International Conference of the Leibniz Research Alliance Open Science. To all of our guests participating from all around the world, we're happy to see you, even if this year, once again, it can only be virtually. Yes, of course, we would have all loved to have met together, seen old friends and colleagues, exchanged ideas in person. But as we know, the last 2 years, that's been very difficult, but certainly we are hoping for better times and that we can all meet again in person. In addition, as I'm sure most of you have been following in the news, the last couple of weeks have been very, very difficult to watch and see what's been happening in the Ukraine. It is nothing short of a tragedy and a humanitarian crisis. And of course, on behalf of the entire ZBW team, we offer our prayers and hope for a very quick resolution to this conflict. But not only prayers, the open science community is really getting together to try to do active things to help out the people in the Ukraine. And we'll be hearing a little bit more about that in a moment. But to begin with, our prayers to everyone that's affected by this tragedy happening there. A few words about myself. Many of you I met virtually last year. I had the great honor of moderating the Open Science Conference last year as well. My name is David Patrician. I'm originally from the United States, outside of Washington, D.C., and I came over to Germany over 10 years ago on a Fulbright scholarship. And how it is in life, sometimes everything happens in between the planning. I planned on staying 1 year. It's been now 10 years. And I work for various German media outlets, print, radio, and some television. And mostly I work in the German language. So today it's a great privilege. And it's great to speak again a little bit in English for our international audience. Real quick, a few words about the ZBW. The ZBW is one of the largest scientific information infrastructures. The ZBW is known above all as a committed player in the open science movement. It has one of the largest interdisciplinary research groups conducting multi-perspective research on the topic of open science. And that is truly why we are here today for the next few days to discuss about. The ZBW is building new infrastructures for open science, from science for science, and is involved in numerous national and international committees for the opening of science. This year's Open Science Conference will have a special focus on cooperation with the German Commission for UNESCO. They will organize a panel discussion and a workshop in the context of the recently adopted UNESCO recommendation on open science. The recommendation is an important milestone for the further development of open science and considers open science from a global perspective with an emphasis on inclusion and respecting diversity of cultures and knowledge systems from around the world. And we're really happy to have them this year. Before we get started today, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Professor Klaus Tochtermann, and he's the director of the ZBW, German National Library of Economics. Professor Tochtermann would like to give a few opening remarks and personally welcome you all to the 9th International Open Science Conference. Klaus, are you there?
Good morning, David. Yeah, I'm here in the home office. Good morning.
In the home office, as most of us are. Before we begin with your opening statements, just one or two quick questions. You are now in Kiel, is that correct?
I'm in Kiel, yes.
Okay, and I'm also in northern Germany. We have some sunshine coming through the windows. It's also a pleasant change to see that we have blue skies and sunshine still here.
Same here in Kiel. Sunny day, and it's a pity to stay inside, but yeah.
Yeah, but for this reason, it's certainly worth it. And I wanted to ask you also, the last 2 years, I mean, we've had to do a lot of adapting, whether it's in our personal life as well as our work life. Just real quick, how is it being with all these Zoom meetings and virtual worlds? How's it affected you these last couple of months as the director of the ZBW?
Yeah, I mean, it's twofold. Internally, I'm missing my colleagues because all the internal meetings will take place virtually. We haven't seen each other for months. On the other side, we have a great outreach with our activities because these days it's possible for me to have one talk in the morning in Berlin, reaching out to 300 participants, and the same day in the afternoon I can virtually go to Essen, Duisburg, have another talk there, reaching out to another 100 people. So
wow,
the reach out is much higher. Still, the stress is also increasing because the time windows are fully packed with Zoom conferences, Zoom meetings, Zoom talks. And there's only little time to relax. That was the case, for example, in the old days, let me call it this way, when I was sitting in the train, I could kind of relax. And now I'm sitting all day long at home, like I guess many of my colleagues, and jumping from one Zoom meeting to the other.
Yeah, and Zoom technology is great, but it certainly cannot replace the actual in-person meeting and gatherings of people, especially in a meeting like this.
Yeah, and I personally have the difficulty to switch back to the presence meetings in present, because my Zoom meetings are following one after the other. One stops at 1 p.m. The next one starts at 1 p.m. So there is almost no rest in between, and no time, for example, to move from at home to the office, from the office to yet another meeting room. So I need a transition phase of a couple of weeks to change my calendar to more meetings in presence.
Yeah, and I can imagine that the same is with most of us also, as the corona numbers hopefully go down and we get back to a new normal life.
I hope so too. Yeah.
I hope so. Good. Then first of all, good health. And we look forward to hearing a brief opening statement from you. Professor Tochtermann, please go ahead.
Thank you, David. So dear colleagues, dear Open Science community, dear friends, I would like to welcome you to this year's Open Science Conference. Last year, the motto of the conference was Open Science, the New Normal. Since then, there has been further progress. For example, project proposals to the Horizon Europe funding program must clearly state in their application what contribution they will make to promoting open science. And this is also evaluated under the excellence criteria. The European Commission, a second example, has recently launched an initiative on reforming research assessment. Even if this initiative seems, at least to me, a bit hasty at the moment, the idea of developing alternatives for the scientific assessment system is the right one. The first consultation in November last year recommends looking at transparent research processes and methods. And you all know this is an important concern of the open science movement. And these are just two examples. I could easily extend the list of examples. And these examples just illustrate how open science has developed since 2015. 2015 was the year in which open science officially entered the research agenda of the European Commission. In 2015, Carlos Moedas made his remark on the 3 O's: open innovation, open science, and open to the world. In his speech on June 22nd, 2015, he said, "Europe is a global leader in science, and this should translate into a leading voice in global debates. To remain relevant and competitive, we need to engage more in science diplomacy and global scientific collaboration." Since February 24th this year, science diplomacy has been more important than ever. Since February 24th, we unfortunately have war in Europe. The war in Ukraine is on everyone's mind, and we all stand with Ukraine. The question is how we as scientists with our institutions can offer help to our colleagues in Ukraine. There are very clear commitments from the science system. First and foremost is the International Science Council. In its statement, the ISC writes the following: "Science has proven to act as a platform for dialogue even in times of war." The Alliance of Science Organizations in Germany has full solidarity with the partners in Ukraine. It requests in its statement, "It is recommended that academic cooperation with state institutions and business enterprises in Russia be frozen with immediate effect until further notice." This is also in line with what the European Commission has recently published. In addition to these statements, concrete measures are currently being worked on to offer scientists, to offer our colleagues from Ukraine support. Worth mentioning is the Science Bridge Hamburg. Accommodation and office spaces for researchers are sought and provided there. Another example, in the EOSC Association, that is the association which runs the development of the European Open Science Cloud, we received inquiries about where scientists from Ukraine can deposit their research data. Should this data fall victim to the war, it will be lost forever. Not only against the background of the current events, but also for the open science movement itself, issues like research data management, public engagement, and open and transparent communication, particularly scholarly communication, are of great relevance. The importance of these topics is reflected in the program of this year's conference. To round off the conference program, we will close this year with a panel discussion organized by our partner, the German Commission of UNESCO. The panelists will discuss the UNESCO recommendation on open science. According to this recommendation, open science should play a significant role in ensuring equity among researchers from all over the world, from developed and developing countries. I hope for all of you, the program offers interesting contributions during the next 3 days. Enjoy the conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Klaus. And we've discussed this in the past. I've had the great opportunity to meet you a few times, that open and transparent information is very, very important. And I think the events of the last few weeks has certainly highlighted truly how important it is, and something we have to fight for to make sure it continues. Thank you very much for your opening statements. We will be seeing you later during the conference.